Welcome to City Sightseeing Cape Town. This is our red route tour. We will follow a circular route to the city center and up to the lower cableway station, returning via the Atlantic Seaboard through the areas of Camps Bay, Clifton, Sea Point, Green Point, and finally the waterfront. Sit back and enjoy your experience with us.
Emerging through the buildings on your right, you might be able to see the impressive bulk of Lion's Head. This is the most accessible part of Table Mountain and is a very popular before and after work climb. The hike to the summit takes about an hour, and you get different views of the city and the Atlantic Ocean as the track spirals up the mountain. Most locals walk up in the evening, and some even take a picnic basket to enhance their sunset experience. And on the nights around full moon, there is a veritable traffic jam on the path as people climb up to watch the sunset and the full moon rise. Lion's Head is also a favorite with the paragliders, as the road gets them more than halfway up to the launch site.
The pine trees on Table Mountain are Italian stone pines, and they're a bone of contention in Cape Town. Some conservationists believe they should be removed because this area is part of a national park, which they feel should only have indigenous trees. Others argue that as these pines have been here for hundreds of years, they have obtained the equivalent of a naturalized status and are a part of Cape Town and should be allowed to stay.
Straight ahead, if it's a clear day, you'll see the cableway station on the summit of Table Mountain and the cave into which the cable cars go. The cableway first opened in 1929 and it was not very popular with the locals. In fact, it took 27 years for the first million riders to use the cableway. But things have changed, and nowadays more than 800,000 local and international tourists take the cable car to the summit every year.
In 2012, 100 million votes worldwide secured Table Mountain a place as one of the new 7 wonders of nature. No image of Cape Town is complete without Table Mountain. Before landing at Cape Town International Airport, visitors and locals crane their necks to catch a glimpse of her. A picture of the mountain is the first one tourists want to tweet and Instagram. It truly says, "I have arrived in the mother city." Cape Townians see her as a symbol of stability, of belonging to a community, of reassurance. All through our tumultuous history, she has always kept an eye on us, keeping us in her fold. She is the mother of our city.
Ahead, you can see the base station of the cableway, where you can buy your ticket. At most times of the day, the queues are short and move very quickly.
Adrenaline junkies agree that Table Mountain is the site for adventure, and the variety of activities on offer from rock climbing, abseiling, mountain biking and paragliding mean that there is something for everyone. If you choose to hike up the mountain, we recommend that you take the well-marked Plutterklip Gorge route, which should take about 2.5 hours to the summit. Ahead of you, you can see a series of buttresses along the back of Table Mountain, known as the 12 Apostles. Why they're called the 12 Apostles has become lost in time, and is made all the more difficult to understand by the fact that there are actually 17 of them. The Dutch named them the Gevelbergen, which translates into the Gabled Mountains, a far more appropriate name. Camps Bay, like Cape Town, is nestled between the mountains and the sea, offering spectacular views of both. If you are here between June and December and you look out to sea, you might be lucky enough to spot southern right whales bobbing about or breaching just off the coast. So keep your eyes peeled. At this point, it might be a good idea to hang on to your hat if you have one. The gaps between the Apostles are infamous for channeling the southeasterly wind down the back of Table Mountain. The southeaster is known as the Cape Doctor because it blows the smog of the city out to sea. It is also partly responsible for the bizarre fact that the sea here is colder in the summer than it is in the winter, because the southeaster blows the warm waters from the surface out to sea, and the cold waters rise up to replace them.
Straight ahead looms the biggest buttress of the 12 Apostles, known as Kasteelberg, or Castle Mountain. And the gully just before it is Kasteelpoort, which provides the easiest access up Table Mountain from Camps Bay. It is up Kasteelpoort that in the early 19th century, a temporary cableway carried building materials onto Table Mountain for the construction of reservoirs on the summit. The amazing thing about this cableway is that it was powered by a steam engine, which had to be pulled up the gorge. These reservoirs were initially built to supply Cape Town with water, but the city's requirements have long since surpassed the dam's capacity, and they are now just a drop in the ocean.
Welcome to our Camps Bay beachfront, the glamorous strip sometimes compared to Miami, but with more spectacular scenery. During the day, it is a magnet for sun worshippers, rollerbladers, skateboarders, joggers and strollers who take advantage of this palm-lined promenade. After dark, the bars, restaurants and clubs keep the strip ablaze until the early hours.
The promenade runs the length of the Sea Point beachfront and continues past Three Anchor Bay and along Muley Point. It is an extremely popular spot for jogging, walking, or just sitting on one of the many benches and admiring the sea views. There are also a number of children's playgrounds that provide entertainment for the little ones and a breather for their parents.
Sea Point was Cape Town's first commuter suburb, and it accessed the city via a horse-drawn omnibus for most of the 19th century. This system was later upgraded to a tram system, which used to make its way all the way around the point to Camps Bay. Today, all that remains are the toilet blocks along the promenade, which used to be the tram stations.
We are about to reach the Winchester Mansions Hotel bus stop. The Winchester Mansions is a grand old establishment and a local favorite for sundowners, and their excellent jazz breakfast on Sunday mornings.
The bright red and white lighthouse ahead of us is the oldest in South Africa and is a major landmark in Greenpoint. And for the locals, she's as well known for moaning Minnie, her foghorn. They know when fog arrives in the middle of the night as they are woken by her deep, throaty moan. Table Bay has been a refuge for ships for more than 500 years, and although she's a refuge, she's not a very good one. The South African coast has claimed more than 2,700 vessels, and a fair number of those rest here in their watery graves in Table Bay. In fact, some say that in the winter, Table Bay is the most dangerous leeward anchorage in the world.
10 kilometers out to sea is Robben Island, the notorious maximum security prison that once housed political prisoners like Nelson Mandela during the apartheid years. After Bartholomew Dias first rounded the Cape in the 1480s, Robben Island was used for almost 2 centuries as a pit stop to feed the sailors on passing ships. It was also a postbox for their letters, and occasionally poorly behaved sailors were imprisoned there. During the period of Dutch rule at the Cape, the island continued to be used as a pantry, but also became increasingly important as a prison, mainly for Cape criminals and political prisoners from the East Indies. In 1959, the apartheid government turned it into a maximum security prison, and it remained so until 1991. Today, Robben Island is a World Heritage Site, and it is really worth visiting. not only to gain an insight into its legacy of banishment and oppression, but also to see how it has become a symbol of resistance and freedom.